I was reading this article that you sent forward. In Texas, an overflowing water tower points to Russia, which I'm like, really, how would Russia be able to control a water? I mean, water towers, you drive around any populated area, there's one every 4, 5, 6 miles. You see them on the horizon every place you go, right? How could they have a leaking water tower or an overflowing water tower in Texas that's associated with Russia at all? Do explain.
Yeah, so typically with these water towers or water treatment facilities, they have remote access. So it's so the workers don't have to come in and like touch these things manually. A lot of times these things are run remotely. And so being that our workers, our American workers, have access remotely, then they can be attacked. And typically, in this case specifically, Russia got in and they decided to hold open, let's say, one of the valves, and it dumped tens of thousands of gallons of fresh water on the ground.
Now, how do we know? How do you trace this back to say, okay, this was a Russia incursion? How do you know that?
Yeah, so typically with attackers like this, they'll leave what we call indicators of compromise. And I think the everyday person can think of it as a fingerprint. So the way that they go about and do their attack is very specific. And so what we do is call it attribution. And so being able to take that information and say, okay, typically it's this group in Russia that works with the Russian government that this is how they do that attack. And that's how we fingerprint them and understand that who was the group that did it.
So their point here is just to prove that they can do it? Was it a demonstration of being able to do it? Did they think they wouldn't get caught? What do you think?
Now, I've seen a couple different modes of thought on this. One is, yes, I think it's showing that they can do it. Two is, I think it's showing, especially with the Ukraine conflict, I think they're showing that, hey, we can touch you, and we're going to kind of send you a little bit of a warning to say we're going to make your people a little fearful. And I think that's, my brain goes to that's what it was. It was more of a we can touch you, and we can pretty much touch you anytime we want.
And so, is that true? And if that's true, why not make the water towers inaccessible online? If it's that easy to screw it up and dump that much water on the ground, I don't know if it causes much problem putting water on the ground like that, but in places that are tight on water, it must be an issue. It's not an issue where I am. I'm in Michigan. We got lots of water. That's not the issue. But in places that are tight on water, it's a big problem. But it shows the vulnerability, not just of water, probably of other infrastructure, doesn't it?
It does. And so typically it's these smaller municipalities, smaller county or maybe even co-op facilities that they target. And the reason why is because these are the most underfunded. These are the ones that are let's say, the most simple. And they know that that's where this old technology or this outdated technology may live that is vulnerable. And so, I tend to call it the soft underbelly of our critical infrastructure. And in this case, it's clear that that's what they're doing, because you can notice they're not out there targeting the big cities. They're not out there targeting those large municipal districts, even though they can. I think it's a case of they wanted to be able to show that they can touch us. And I think it's also a bit of what we call fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They're trying to sow that, or what we call FUD, but sow that with the American people to say, hey, we're gonna cause you some fear and just make you even that more uneasy.